The old highway diner hummed with a soft, sleepy life of its own. A jukebox in the corner played an aging love song, its notes floating lazily above the clink of cutlery and the low murmur of conversations. Warm, honey-colored lights bounced off chrome edges and framed photos of road trips from decades ago. It was the kind of place people didn't come to impress anyone, just to feel like they'd been here before, even if it was their first time. Outside, late autumn pressed against the windows, but inside everything felt slow, safe, and almost suspended. By the window, in a worn red booth, Michael Hayes sat with his sleeves rolled to his forearms, the white of his shirt almost glowing in the soft light. His hair, dark and carefully combed back, made him look like the kind of man who spent most of his days in meetings in glass offices. But tonight, the world of contracts and deadlines had faded. Right now, he was just a dad whose phone was face down on the table, whose attention lived entirely in the bright pair of eyes across from him. His daughter, Lily, 6 years old and endlessly curious, swung her legs above the floor as she bit into a burger almost too big for her hands. Her light brown hair was pulled into a slightly crooked ponytail she'd insisted on doing herself. Tiny embroidered suns dotted the collar of her yellow dress, and every time she spoke, the ponytail bounced like it wanted to join in. And then Mrs. Turner said, "That's too many stars on your notebook, Lily," she announced, holding her hands up dramatically. But I told her, "There's still room in the sky." She widened her eyes in a mock-serious expression, trying to imitate her teacher. Michael chuckled, resting his elbows on the table. "Hard to argue with astronomy like that," he said. Lily wrinkled her nose proudly. "I know. I should probably be a scientist already. Or maybe a professional sticker designer." He played along. "A very prestigious field, I've heard." Their laughter floated above the quiet noise of the diner, blending with the jukebox as if the song was underscoring their little world. Other families sat scattered around them, some finishing dessert, some just starting dinner. But for Michael and Lily, time had slowed to something gentle. Lily reached for a fry, dipped it into ketchup, then leaned across the table. "You always forget this," she said, holding it near his mouth. "A tragic flaw," Michael replied, biting it with exaggerated gratitude. "Good thing I have you." "You'd be lost without me," she said with the sort of certainty only a child can carry. "Like a lonely cloud with no sky." He laughed, but there was a tenderness in his eyes that didn't quite fit into words. For a moment, everything was simple. Salty fries, chocolate milkshake, her giggle, his soft smile. If you've ever sat awake at night wishing you could stop time just once, this was the kind of moment you'd try to keep. The bell above the entrance chimed, letting in a gust of chilly air. Most people glanced up out of habit, then turned back to their plates. Michael almost didn't look, but Lily's eyes flicked toward the sound, and he followed her gaze. A woman had stepped inside, one hand clutching the strap of a worn canvas bag, the other holding onto a little boy. She was slender, her dark blonde hair pulled back in a loose knot that had surrendered stray strands to the wind. Her jeans and gray sweater were faded, layered under a thrift store denim jacket that had seen better days, yet everything about her was clean, careful. She moved like someone trying not to take up too much space, like she had learned to walk through rooms without being noticed. The boy at her side, maybe 5 years old, clung to her fingers. His coat was a size too big, the sleeves rolled up several times, and in his free hand he held a scratched plastic dinosaur with a missing tail. The woman, Erin Cole, paused just inside the doorway, her eyes sweeping the diner the way people do when they're searching for more than an empty seat. She wasn't just checking for a place to sit, she was checking if they belonged. Erin approached the counter with the boy pressed close to her hip. The server offered a polite smile, the kind you give a stranger whose story you'll never ask about. "What can I get you?" he asked. Erin's fingers tightened around the strap of her bag. "Just a cup of water, please," she said quietly. There was no flinch in her voice, just a practiced calm that comes from asking for the smallest possible thing. The man nodded, filled a plastic cup, and set it on the counter. Erin knelt beside her son, Noah, and placed the drink carefully into his small hands. "Here you go, buddy. Just a sip, okay?" she murmured. Noah took the cup with a seriousness that didn't belong on a 5-year-old, sipping slowly as if the water should last longer than it possibly could. But his eyes, wide, pale, and a little hollow, wandered past his mother's shoulder toward the nearest tables, toward plates layered with color and heat and smell. Burgers, fries, pie. His gaze eventually landed on Michael and Lily's booth, where a plate of fries sat barely touched and a milkshake beaded with condensation. Michael noticed the boy's stare. Lily did too. The woman and child moved to a small corner booth near the wall where an old postcard of Route 66 hung slightly crooked. Erin helped Noah into the seat, smoothing his hair with gentle fingers. She pointed at the postcard, trying to distract him with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. But Noah was looking past the postcard, past the walls, past the efforts she was making. "Mom," he whispered. She leaned closer. "Yeah, sweetheart? I'm really hungry." The words were soft, but they landed like stones. Erin blinked, steadying herself. "We'll eat at home, okay? Just have some water to help your tummy for now." She kissed his forehead and turned away, jaw tightening just enough that someone paying attention could see the crack in her calm. At Michael's table, Lily had gone quiet. Her burger sat half-eaten, her small fingers paused mid-air. She looked from Noah to her own plate, to the fries she had barely touched. Then she looked up at her father, her voice suddenly small, but steady. "Dad." Michael turned toward her. "Yeah, Lil?" She leaned in so only he could hear. "That boy, he's hungry." The way she said it wasn't a question. It was a fact she couldn't unsee, and she was asking her father what they were going to do about it. Michael followed her gaze to the corner booth. He saw the rolled-up sleeves of Noah's coat, the way Erin sat with her hands clenched together as if she were holding herself in one piece. Something in his chest tightened. A quiet, familiar ache that comes when you recognize a kind of pain you can't fix but can't ignore. Lily watched him carefully. Her eyes were older for a moment, full of a kind of compassion that doesn't come from cartoons or math homework. "Dad," she whispered again, "can I share with them?" The words hung between them, simple and impossible to argue with. Michael looked at his daughter, at the kindness she carried so easily, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. In a world where so many adults scroll past suffering, change the channel, look away, this little girl wanted to move closer. "Yes," he said quietly. "But we're not just sharing leftovers." He slid out of the booth, smoothing his shirt out of habit, not because it mattered. For a moment he hesitated, looking at Erin and Noah from across the diner, the small, guarded figure of a woman who seemed prepared to be turned away, and the boy clutching his tailless dinosaur like it was the only constant he had. Then Michael started walking toward them, every step closing the distance between two worlds that weren't meant to stay separate forever. He approached the corner booth, careful not to startle them. Erin looked up when his shadow fell across the table. Her shoulders stiffened instinctively, as if bracing for a complaint, a question, a judgment. "Excuse me," Michael said softly, his voice low and warm. "I'm sorry to bother you. My daughter wanted me to ask if you and your little guy would like to join us." For a heartbeat, it was as if no one breathed. Erin's fingers curled around the edge of the table, ready to pull back, to say no before the offer could settle in. Pride is a strange thing. It can feel heavier than hunger. Her eyes darted to Lily at the other booth, the little girl watching them with open hope. Then down to Noah, who was now staring at Michael, as if the man had just offered him the moon. I don't want to cause any trouble," Erin said quietly. Her voice had that careful tone of someone who has heard no too many times. Michael shook his head gently. "It's no trouble at all. We've got plenty of room and my daughter insists." He gave a small, reassuring smile, one that said this wasn't charity, just an invitation to sit together. Noah looked up at his mom, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can we, Mom?" That was all it took. Erin swallowed, the lump in her throat rough as gravel, and nodded once. "Okay," she breathed. Michael stepped back to give them space and led the way to his booth. Lily scooted over immediately, patting the seat beside her with eager hands. "He can sit here," she said, smiling at Noah as if they'd been friends for years. Noah climbed in, still clutching his dinosaur, nervous and excited all at once. Erin sat opposite Michael, unsure what to do with her hands, folding them, unfolding them again, resting them in her lap. The smells of warm food felt louder up close. The fries, the burger, the shake. For the first time that day, Erin didn't feel invisible. She felt exposed. Michael waved to the server. "Could we get another plate, please? And one more burger, extra fries if you've got them." Erin's eyes widened. "Really, that's not—" "It's already taken care of," Michael said softly. "Let them enjoy the evening." Lily leaned toward Noah, holding up a blue plastic dinosaur with a chipped tail. "This is Bolt," she said proudly. "He's a T-Rex, but he's friendly." Noah gave a shy smile. "Mine's a raptor. He can't run fast anymore because he's missing his tail." "They can still be friends," Lily answered without hesitation, pressing her toy into his hand. That simple sentence slipped into the quiet between them like a promise. Broken things could still belong somewhere. The server returned with a fresh plate of fries, setting it between the kids. Noah picked one up with both hands, as if it might vanish if he wasn't careful, and took a slow bite. Relief crossed his face first, then pure, unfiltered joy. Erin watched him, her shoulders loosening just a fraction. Michael slid the burger a little closer to her. "Please," he said. "You don't need to pretend you're not hungry." Erin hesitated, then broke off a small piece, tasting it like someone who isn't sure she's allowed to enjoy anything. "No one," Michael murmured, voice low enough that only she could hear, "should ever have to choose between eating and letting their child eat." Her chewing stopped. She lifted her eyes to his, expecting pity, judgment, something sharp. Instead, she found only quiet understanding. Her vision blurred as tears threatened, but she blinked them back, swallowing hard. "Thank you," she whispered. "You're welcome," he replied simply. At that table, something shifted. Not just for Erin and Noah, but for Michael too. The world outside the diner kept rushing by, but inside, there were 4 people sharing a meal they didn't know they needed, creating a moment that would reach much farther than the walls around them. The night passed, plates emptied, laughter grew easier. Eventually, goodbyes were exchanged, and promises, soft ones like, "Maybe we'll see you again," hung in the air like distant stars. Hours later, before dawn even thought about touching the sky, Erin's alarm buzzed in the dark. She woke in a small, cold apartment that didn't smell like diner food. Just soap, stale air, and worn-out hope. Noah slept beside her on the narrow mattress, his arm thrown over the same battered dinosaur. The quiet was heavy. Erin slipped out of bed, padding across the cracked linoleum toward the bathroom, carrying yesterday's clothes in her arms. In the cramped bathroom, Erin filled a plastic basin with lukewarm water. The pipes rattled like they were protesting the effort. She rolled up her sleeves and began scrubbing jeans, socks, Noah's only hoodie. Her fingers ached from the cold and the detergent, but she kept going. She'd done this every few days since the laundromat raised prices. Another thing that had quietly moved out of reach. By the time the sky outside faded from black to a dull gray, she was in the kitchen staring at an almost empty fridge. 1 egg, that was it. She boiled it slowly, as if buying more time could somehow make more food appear. When it was done, she sliced it in half with a dull knife. 1 half onto a chipped plate with a piece of toast for Noah. The other half went back into the fridge, even though she wasn't sure when she'd let herself eat it. Noah shuffled in, rubbing his eyes. "Morning, Mom." "Morning, Bug," she said, forcing a sight as she pulled out the one sturdy chair. "Breakfast is ready." He looked at the plate, then at her. "Aren't you eating?" "I ate earlier," she lied gently, brushing his hair back. It was a lie she'd told so often it slid out of her mouth like it was true. He accepted it the way kids do when they don't want to make things harder. After breakfast, she helped him into his jacket, noticing how the toes of his shoes were splitting, his socks peeking out like they were trying to escape. She tucked the fabric in and tied the laces tighter, like she could hold everything together with knots and hope. She kissed his forehead, watched him climb onto the school bus, and waved until the bus turned the corner. Inside, she checked her phone. No new messages, no job offers, no miracles. She scrolled through cleaning ads, sent out messages with polite words and lowered rates, her cracked screen reflecting her tired face back at her. No replies came. Around midday, she ate the other half of the egg with a packet of cheap noodles, using only half the seasoning so she could stretch the taste for later. The clock moved slowly toward afternoon, and she tried not to think about the rent. Downstairs, the mailbox groaned when she opened it. Junk flyers, coupons she couldn't use, and one plain envelope with her name written in rushed handwriting. She knew before she opened it. Some part of her always knew. Final notice, it read. Past due balance. Payment required by the 15th. Eviction if not resolved. The words were underlined, bold, merciless. She climbed the stairs slowly, letter crumpling in her fist with every step. In the apartment, she sank to the floor beside the couch, leaning against the peeling wall. The heater hadn't worked in months, but this had always been Noah's safe place, their little corner of the world. Now even this felt temporary. For a while she didn't move. The hum of a neighbor's TV bled through the thin walls. Somewhere far away, a siren wailed, then faded. Finally, a single tear slipped down her cheek and splashed onto the paper. She wiped it away quickly, as if even her tears were a luxury she couldn't afford. Days passed in a blur of worry and waiting. Then came Saturday, a colder one, with air sharp enough to sting the lungs but bright enough to make the sky feel wide. Aaron and Noah walked to the small park they visited when there was nowhere else to go. It didn't cost anything to sit on a bench and pretend the world wasn't falling apart. She sat, arms wrapped around herself, watching Noah run toward the playground, his laughter somehow louder than his empty stomach. She had packed a water bottle, half a peanut butter sandwich, and an apple she'd saved. He didn't complain. He never did. "Look who it is," a familiar bright voice called. Aaron looked up. Lily was racing across the grass, ponytail bouncing wildly. Noah's face lit up, joy bursting through every line of him as he ran to her. "You came," she squealed, wrapping him in a clumsy hug. "I told my dad I hoped we'd see you again." Behind her, hands in his coat pockets, walked Michael, wearing a soft smile. He stopped near the bench, tilting his head. "Mind if we join you?" he asked. Aaron hesitated, the instinct to say no rising again, then she nodded. "No, I'd like that." Michael sat down at the other end of the bench, leaving a respectful space between them. For a moment, they simply watched Lily and Noah tear across the grass, their shouts rising into the clear air. Children have a way of making even the hardest weeks look weightless. "I think they missed each other," Michael said quietly, a hint of a smile tugging at his mouth. Aaron nodded. "Noah hasn't stopped talking about her. He keeps asking if we'll ever go back to that diner." Michael chuckled softly. "Lily asked if we could eat there every night in case you two showed up." He reached down beside him and lifted a small canvas tote. I overpacked," he admitted, pulling out a couple of juice boxes, a container of grapes, 2 wrapped sandwiches. "Thought maybe my team could help me out." Aaron eyed the food, then glanced at the half sandwich and apple she'd brought. Her instinct was to refuse, to say they were always fine, even when they weren't. But the sight of Noah laughing with Lily, cheeks flushed, made her shoulders drop a little. "You always bring this much?" she asked, trying to make it a joke instead of a question. "Only when I'm hoping to share," he said simply, holding out one of the sandwiches. She accepted it, dividing the grapes into napkins with careful fingers, making sure the kids got the fullest piles. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You don't have to keep doing this." "I know," he replied, "but I want to." For a while, they just sat there. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled, because the sound of children's laughter is doing all the important work. Noah and Lily found an old, half-deflated soccer ball near the fence and immediately turned it into treasure. They chased it, kicked it, shrieked when it bounced unevenly. Noah took a running start, kicked hard, and his foot slipped off the worn ball. He went down in the grass with a sharp yelp. Aaron was on her feet in an instant. "Noah!" she called, hurrying toward him. He sat up, wincing, clutching his shoe. The front had split even more, the fabric peeled back to reveal a sock rubbed raw and streaked with red. Michael was already kneeling beside him. "Hey there, champ," he said softly. "That ball put up a good fight, huh?" Noah tried to swallow his tears, but his lower lip trembled. "My foot hurts," he whispered. Michael jogged back to his car and returned with a small first aid kit. He didn't hesitate to kneel in the dirt again, untying Noah's shoe with careful fingers. He peeled back the torn fabric, revealing the scraped skin beneath. Aaron hovered nearby, arms folded tight, guilt written across her face. "It's just a scrape," Michael said gently. "You're tougher than it is, I can tell." He cleaned the wound with a small wipe, wrapped it in gauze, and secured it with tape, hands steady, movements calm. "There," he said, giving Noah a reassuring nod. "Good as new, but I think these shoes have done all they can." Noah let out a shaky laugh, and Erin did too, though hers sounded like it snagged on something inside. She met Michael's eyes. There was no mockery there, no judgment, only a quiet, steady kindness. "Thank you," she whispered, the words thick. Michael shrugged gently. "We look out for each other, right?" The kids ran off again, Noah moving a little more carefully but still smiling. Erin sat back down, her heart beating unevenly. This man, who could have stayed in his own comfortable world, kept stepping into hers like he didn't see any line between them at all. That scared her almost as much as it comforted her, because the more their lives tangled, the more she was reminded how far apart they truly were. The penthouse didn't smell like home. It smelled like marble polish, lemon cleaner, and money. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across the far wall, flooding the room with city light even on cloudy days. Everything gleamed: glass, chrome, dark wood, the kind of furniture that looked more like art than something a person would curl up on. Erin moved carefully across the living room floor on her knee, scrubbing slender lines of grout between tiles that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Her cheap work gloves had a small hole near the thumb, and the skin beneath was red and cracked from chemicals. The agency had called that morning with a special opportunity, a luxury unit uptown that needed a deep clean before a showing. She hadn't asked questions. Extra pay was extra pay. A bucket of water sat beside her, the lemon scent sharp in the silent air. Her jeans were stained at the knees, hoodie sleeves dotted with old bleach marks. Her hair was pulled back in a low knot, strands sticking to her neck as she leaned forward, scraping away at a stain no one else would have noticed. The elevator doors behind her slid open with a soft chime. Erin froze. Footsteps, 2 sets, echoed across the hardwood. She kept her head down, eyes fixed on the floor, heart picking up speed. "We'll turn this extra room into a home office. Great light, perfect for clients," a familiar voice was saying. Warm, confident, threaded with casual authority. Michael. Her breath caught. She stayed kneeling, staring at the tile as if it could somehow make her invisible. Another voice joined his, lower, talking about price points, market trends, the kind of buyer this place will attract. They walked past her, just a few feet away. Erin felt the air shift as they moved, could see the gleam of polished shoes in the corner of her vision. Michael didn't look down. His mind was somewhere else. In numbers, plans, investors. The man who had knelt in the grass to bandage Noah's foot was now in a suit whose jacket alone probably cost more than everything in her apartment. He walked past the woman on her knees without realizing she was the same one who shared his Saturday park bench. Erin waited, every muscle tight, until their voices faded down the hall. Only then did she push herself up, fingers trembling around the handle of the scrub brush. Something hot and heavy settled in her chest. Humiliation, sharp and bright. Disappointment in herself for forgetting who he was, who she was. She put the brush in the bucket, grabbed her bag, and headed for the service elevator at the back. She didn't look back. In the narrow metal box as it descended, she stared at her reflection in the scratched door. "You were stupid," she whispered to herself. He was just being kind, that's all. That night in her apartment, after Noah had fallen asleep clutching his dinosaur, she sat on the edge of the bed with her phone in her hand. There were messages from Michael, little check-ins, a silly photo Lily had drawn of our park team, a question about when they might see each other again. Her thumb hovered over the first one. She didn't open it. Instead, she deleted the entire thread. Then she blocked his number. Her chest ached, but there was a grim safety in the finality of the action. Better to rip the bandage off herself before the world did it for her. The next morning, Noah frowned as he pulled on his jacket. "Are we going to the park today?" he asked. "Maybe Lily will be there." "Not today," Erin answered lightly, forcing a smile. "She's probably busy." The day after that, he asked again. "Can we go? I miss her." "We'll go another time," she said, pretending to rummage through a drawer so he wouldn't see the way her eyes glossed over. Days turned into a quiet pattern of avoidance. Each time Noah said, "Lily's my best friend," something in Erin felt like it was breaking. The silence that once felt like protection now just felt empty. But when you've spent years surviving, Cutting yourself off from hope feels easier than believing you might actually belong in someone else's world. The knock came on a Wednesday, just after the sun slipped behind the buildings and the apartment had turned into shapes and shadows. Erin was folding laundry on the couch. Noah's small t-shirts, the one pair of jeans without holes, socks that never seemed to stay in pairs. The sound startled her. No one ever knocked here unless it was the landlord or trouble. The knock came again, a little firmer this time. Her stomach tightened. She wiped her hands on her jeans and moved to the door quietly, checking through the peephole. Michael. He stood in the dim hallway, his coat dusted with the chill of evening, hair slightly wind-tousled. His hands hung loosely at his sides, not clenched, not impatient, just waiting. He didn't look like the man from the penthouse today. He looked like the man from the park, from the diner, from those quieter moments she kept trying not to replay at night. Her fingers trembled on the lock. She could have pretended she wasn't home. She thought about it. Instead, she opened the door just enough to stand in the frame, blocking his view inside. "Hi," he said softly, searching her face. "I hope it's okay that I came." "How did you even find this place?" she asked, voice stretched thin. "You left breadcrumbs," he answered gently. "Your number stopped working. You stopped answering. You stopped coming to the park." Lily cried for 3 nights straight. The words hit harder than she expected. She looked away, blinking quickly. "I didn't mean to hurt her." "I know," he said, taking a small step closer, careful not to crowd her. "Can we talk?" She hesitated, then stepped outside, pulling the door mostly shut behind her. The hallway smelled like old paint and dust. The light above them flickered, casting unsteady shadows over their faces. "I didn't know you'd be there," she blurted, before he could say anything else. "At that apartment, your project." "I figured you didn't," he replied quietly. "I wasn't expecting you either, but I wish I'd seen you." She let out a sharp, humorless breath. "No, you don't. I was on my knees cleaning your floor in rubber gloves and a hoodie that should have been thrown out a year ago. You walked past me like I was part of the tile." Michael flinched, the memory clearly hitting him now. "Erin, You were talking about buyers and investors and natural light," she continued, voice shaking. "You had a suit on that probably cost more than my rent. I felt stupid, like everything between us was just some rich guy's good deed. Something kind to do on weekends before you went back to your real life." Her arms folded tightly across her chest, like she was holding herself together by force. "I forgot my place, that's on me." Michael watched her, hurt and regret heavy in his eyes. But he didn't rush to defend himself. He took a breath, the kind you take when you know words really matter. "You think that's what you are to me?" he asked quietly. "A project to feel good about?" Erin stared at the scuffed floor between them. "Isn't that what this looks like? You live in buildings like that. I scrub floors in them. We're not the same, Michael." "I don't care about the same," he said, stepping just a little closer. "I care that you disappeared. I care that Noah stopped smiling the way he did at the park. I care that Lily lost sleep wondering if she did something wrong. And I care that you somehow got the idea that you were ever less than enough at my table." Her throat tightened. The words pressed against the back of her eyes, hot and stinging. Before she could respond, a small sound came from behind the door, a rustle, the creak of a hinge. The door eased open. Noah peeked out, his hair rumpled, eyes wide. When he saw Michael, his whole face lit up. "Michael!" he exclaimed, pushing the door wider and throwing his arms around the man's leg without hesitation. "You came back." Michael's hand went instinctively to the boy's back, his expression softening. "Hey, buddy," he murmured. "I missed you." "Please don't leave again," Noah said, voice muffled against his coat. "I thought maybe you forgot us." Something inside Erin cracked open. The tears she'd been wrestling finally slipped free, rolling down her cheeks before she could swipe them away. She leaned back against the hallway wall, covering her mouth with one hand as her shoulders shook silently. Michael knelt so he was level with Noah, smoothing the boy's hair back from his forehead. "I didn't forget you," he said. "Not for a second." Then he glanced up at Erin, and when he saw her crying, it wasn't triumph or pity in his eyes. It was something gentler, deeper. "I'm sorry," she choked out, barely able to force the words through the tightness in her chest. "I've spent so long just surviving. I don't really know what it feels like to be safe. When I saw you in that world, I remembered exactly how far away I am from it. It just hurt less to disappear first. Michael rose slowly, taking a step toward her like someone approaching a wounded bird. His voice dropped to a soft, steady line. "You were never a charity case to us, Aaron. You were the reason Lily ran to the park on Saturdays. You're the reason I stopped checking my email for a few hours and actually breathed. You and Noah, you made this life feel like more than work." She looked at him through blurry eyes, disbelief and longing tangled together. "You don't owe us anything," she whispered. "I know," he replied. "That's why it means something that I'm here." He paused, swallowing hard. "You're safe with me, both of you. I can't promise I won't make mistakes. I clearly already have. But I'm not going anywhere just because it's uncomfortable." The hallway was small and worn out. The wallpaper peeled at the corners, the light still flickering. But in that narrow space, something shifted, not magically, not perfectly, but enough. Enough for Erin to let her hands drop from her face, to stop fighting the tears, to just stand there and be seen. Noah slipped his hand into hers, his grip small but certain. "Can we see Lily?" he asked quietly. Michael smiled, eyes glistening now too. "She asks the same question about you." He took a breath, like a man standing at the edge of a deep pool. "How about this weekend, all of us? The park, no disappearing." Erin didn't promise forever. She didn't know how, but she nodded once, slowly. "Okay," she whispered, "this weekend." For someone lying awake at night, afraid of being too much or not enough, this is the part that matters. Not that everything is fixed, but that someone knocked on the door and didn't walk away when it opened. Saturday arrived with the sky painted in soft blue and thin clouds drifting like they had nowhere urgent to be. The park felt familiar and almost new at the same time, like a place from a dream you finally get to walk through again. Michael spread a checkered blanket beneath the same old oak tree where they'd sat before, smoothing it over the uneven grass. Nearby, a cooler and a simple picnic basket waited, nothing extravagant. Just sandwiches, apple slices, a container of cookies, and a few juice boxes. It was ordinary on purpose. Ordinary was safe. Ordinary was real. Lily spotted Noah first. "There!" she shouted, already sprinting across the grass. Noah's face lit up, and he ran toward her, their reunion crashing together in a hug that nearly knocked them both over. They started laughing before either of them said a word, joy spilling out faster than sentences could form. It was messy and honest, and exactly what they both needed. Erin hung back for a second, watching them. She wrapped her arms around herself, not from the chill, but from the fragile feeling in her chest. Then she saw Michael wave her over, just a small motion of his hand, a quiet invitation. "This space is yours, too." She joined him on the blanket, sitting with her legs tucked beneath her. "You didn't have to do all this," she said softly, looking at the food, the blanket, the way he'd chosen a spot with shade and enough space for the kids to run. "I know," he answered. "Maybe that's why I wanted to." For a while, they just watched Lily and Noah chase each other in wide circles, feet bare, hair wild. They raced, tackled, fell into the grass, rolled over and jumped up again, as if the world outside the park's fence didn't exist. If you've ever lain awake in the dark, wondering if your child will ever laugh freely again, this was the kind of sight that could untie something deep inside your chest. After a bit, Michael reached into the picnic basket and pulled out a plain brown shoebox with a rubber band wrapped around it. He set it between them, suddenly a little shy. I was cleaning out a closet," he said. "Found these. Ordered the wrong size for Lily a while back. Thought maybe they could use a better home." Erin looked at the box, then at him. Her heart beat faster, not because of the gift, but because of what it meant to be thought of in the quiet hours when no one's looking. "Michael," she started, but he shook his head gently. "No expectations. And if they don't fit, I'll take them back. Deal?" She nodded, fingers brushing the cardboard like it might disappear if she pressed too hard. When Lily and Noah came racing back toward the blanket, breathless and rosy-cheeked, Michael tapped the shoebox. "Hey, Noah," he said casually, as if this were no big thing. "These were too small for Lily. Think you could help me out and see if they fit you?" "For me?" Noah asked, his eyes widening, voice almost reverent. "If they work," Michael said with a shrug, "you'd be doing me a favor." Noah sat down so fast he nearly toppled over. Erin helped him pull off his old shoes, the soles worn thin, fabric split open at the toes. She folded them quietly, setting them aside like they were an old friend. Michael lifted the lid, revealing a pair of new sneakers, blue and white with small green streaks along the sides, sturdy and simple. No flashing lights, no brand bragging, just something meant to last. Noah slid his feet into them, and for a second there was silence. Then his whole face broke into a smile that seemed too big for his body. "They fit!" he shouted, scrambling to his feet. He jogged a few steps, then broke into a run. "I'm faster!" Lily shrieked with delight and chased him across the grass. "No fair, you have speed shoes now," she yelled, laughing. Erin pressed her fingers over her mouth, her eyes shimmering. It wasn't just about the sneakers. It was about someone seeing a need she never voiced out loud and meeting it gently, without fanfare. Michael didn't say anything. He just sat beside her, close enough to look that their shoulders brushed, like he understood that silence was safer than a speech. As the afternoon slid toward evening, the four of them shared sandwiches, apple slices, and crumbs of cookies that somehow ended up in the grass. Stories flowed easily now. Lily talking about school, Noah proudly explaining his dinosaur's dramatic backstory, Erin sharing small pieces of her life, and Michael admitting he'd forgotten what it felt like to look forward to weekends. The sky slowly shifted from gold to lavender, then to the deep blue of early night. Fireflies appeared in tiny bursts of light. Lily and Noah lay side by side on the blanket, pointing up as the first stars blinked awake. "That one looks like a dinosaur," Lily said, tracing an invisible shape in the sky. "No way," Noah replied. "It looks like a rocket ship." Erin leaned into Michael's side, her head resting gently on his shoulder. For the first time in a very long time, she didn't feel like she was about to be pushed away. She felt held, not just by him, but by the moment, by the possibility that maybe, just maybe, life didn't always have to hurt this much. After a quiet stretch, Lily sat up, looking between the adults with the boldness only a child has. "Hey," she asked, "are we kind of like a family now?" The question lingered in the cool air. Erin's breath caught. Michael turned to her. Their eyes met, and this time she didn't look down, didn't apologize for daring to be here. He reached for her hand, fingers lacing through hers, steady and sure. Then he looked back at Lily and Noah. "Yes," he said, voice soft but certain. "Yeah, I think we are." Erin let a tear slip free, but this time it wasn't from fear or shame. It was from the quiet relief of not having to carry everything alone anymore. Above them, the stars stretched wide, making room for this small, imperfect, beautiful beginning. And if you're listening to this in the dark, wondering if kindness still exists, if second chances are real, if small voices matter, remember this. One little girl in a diner asked, "Dad, can I share with them?" And nothing was ever the same again. Sometimes, it doesn't take a miracle to change a life. It just takes someone staying when it would have been easier to walk away.